Hey all, Tom Ryan here from Tom's Big Spiders. This episode, we're going to take a look at the Pamphobeteus Mascara. I got this one as a sling almost a year ago from Hardcore Arachnids. That's Tom Patterson's business. If you don't know Tom Patterson, he's been in the hobby since the 90s. He's a kind of a big deal over here in the U.S. Bred a lot of different species of tarantulas over the years, and it's been selling for many, many years. So I definitely encourage folks that are looking for places to buy spiders to check him out. He's one of my go-tos. Anyway, we got this one here that needs a new home. She's put a decent amount of size on over the past year, and she needs something bigger. So enough of me talking. Let's take a look at Pamphobeteus Mascara, or the Mascara Bird Eater. All right, so we're about to do a quick rehousing of my Pamphobeteus Mascara, or the Mascara Bird Eater. We picked this one up in April 29th of 2023, so almost exactly a year ago. And we got it from Tom Patterson at Hardcore Arachnids. Love Tom Patterson. I've been ordering from him for many, many years, and was very excited to get another Pamphobeteus species because it's been quite a while since I raised one up. And as you'll see from the footage here, one of the reasons I love Pamphobeteus species is because of that beautiful Christmas tree pattern on their abdomens. They're just such pretty slings. And this one here I'll go ahead and open this up so Billy can get a shot of it. It molted a few weeks ago. It's eaten a couple times. Now, a note on the growth rate. Pamphos can be very, very, very fast growers. When I picked this one up, it was about 1 3/4 or 4.45 centimeters. It's now probably around 3.75 inches or 9.5 centimeters, which is decent growth rate. However, I do want to mention that my feeding schedule differs from when I raised my last batch of Pamphobeteus. Back then, I was still in this phase where I would feed them constantly, so sometimes like every other day or so when they were slings. So obviously, they put on massive size very, very quickly. They can grow very, very quickly. However, in the last couple years or so, I've slowed down my feeding schedules, more so because I want these guys to be with me for much longer, because I have noticed that although it doesn't take all that much time off, that some of the faster growing species, if you jack them up very early on when they're slings and get them into that adult stage early, you are taking some time off their lives. And quite frankly, they don't need to eat that much or feed that much. So I have slowed things down. So this one, instead of doing my normal sling thing when I had it, which was feed it like every couple days or so, this one would get one decent sized prey item a week. So usually when we start off as 1 3/4 inches or so, she was getting like a medium sized cricket. Now she's taking down large crickets, no problem. So it's time to get her into a new home. So what we're going to be putting her into is this over here, which anybody that watches my videos knows I love these. This is one of the M-Design stackable plastic storage containers. It goes 12.75 inches by 7.25 inches by about 7 inches deep, or 32.4 by 18.4 by 17.8 centimeters. Love these for juveniles, and they even work for dwarf species. You can honestly keep a smaller, 3-inch spider in here for life. They offer a decent amount of depth. And what we have here for substrate, this is my own mixture. It is cocoa fiber, which I had to rehydrate. I get it in bricks. We added some dry peat to it, mixed up, so about 40-40, and actually probably about 45-45, and then some vermiculite in there to help it absorb moisture. Now, as slings, I do like to keep my Pamphobeteus species moist. As juveniles, I like to keep part of it moist, and as adults, I've noticed they do like a moist corner, although I've heard people that raise Pamphobeteus species and they keep them basically dry with a water dish. I try to always keep part of the substrate moist, and I've noticed that some of them will gravitate toward that area. I've also noticed that Pamphobeteus, if given the space, will continue to burrow even after they put on size, which is why we gave it something here that will allow it, because this here obviously can't burrow much anymore. It's outgrown this enclosure. This here will give it a nice little space to go in there, do some burrowing if it wishes. And then when I rehouse it as an adult, I will probably see if it's still burrowing, we'll give it something with some depth so it can continue to burrow. So what we're going to do now is get this spider from point A to point B as it starts to go into the hide that it never uses. I was going to pluck it out. All right, let's see. This one can be a little... Why am I using this? I'm going to use the old... Here we go. I have one angry spider. Standing her ground. Get this out of the way. The one thing I love about these, it slips right down there. And then let me see if I can't get over a little push in the butt to get her in this. It's the only problem with these smaller enclosures. There we go. There she is. So probably, yeah, I'd say 3.5, 3 3/4 inches or so. I'll try to hold this steady. Billy's got the steadier hands. And then what we're going to do is try to guide her right in here. No. You want to go to, there we go. No.
Fresh.
Oh,
my God.
she wants to be friends with the brush. I had somebody come on one of the other videos and mention the fact that why don't you just leave the catch cup in with them instead of poking and prodding them. And when it allows for it, I will. This unfortunately will not fit. So normally I don't want to disturb them more than I have to, but this one isn't going to fit in there. And I did need the square one. I did have another. There we go. There we go. All right. Beautiful. Now the good thing about this will give her some room to burrow, be more comfortable. We're going to fatten her up again. I'm guessing with the next molt, she'll probably be around the 4-inch mark, 4.5-inch mark. We'll see. They kind of like Pamphobeteus species. They have this one molt in particular. They seem to put on a decent amount of size, but love Pamphos. I have a lot of people ask why I don't have more Pamphos. It's because back when I first started really getting heavy into the hobby, obviously I loved the bigger spiders. That was my big thing back then. The bigger, the better. But the Pamphobeteus species were so darn expensive, and at that time, Pamphobeteus species were quite inexpensive. So I started buying up a lot of Pamphobeteus species and kind of committed to keeping as many of the Pamphobeteus species as I could. Now, it doesn't mean I don't love Pamphos. It just means I only have so much space, and I already have about, I want to say 20 Pamphobeteus species. So that's a lot of space taken up. So I have to be a little careful when I get new ones. But very excited to raise this one up. Now, as far as other Pamphobeteus species we have Pamphobeteus antinus. We have Pamphobeteus species Duran, a big female. I had a male back in the day that was absolutely stunning. And then we have Pamphobeteus, the chicken spider, Aranya polito. So a couple of species of Pamphobeteus. I love them. I know people want me to get more. It really comes down to space. So do I want more in the future? Yes, absolutely. And once maybe some of the older, larger specimens, some mature males die off or whatever, then maybe we'll look at getting more. But there is Pamphobeteus mascara. Gorgeous spider. Now, temperature-wise, temps in the tarantula room up here, wintertime, right around 73 degrees, sometimes dips a little bit lower. And if it's on a higher shelf, this one was on a higher shelf, so probably around 74 degrees during the wintertime. Summertime, we're talking about mid to high 80s. Every once in a while, I'll hit 90 degrees, but usually at that point, I kick a small AC on just to knock it down a bit because they do seem to be uncomfortable when it gets too hot. And growth rate, even when I kept them, my first species, my Durans, I kept at lower temps. That was back when the tarantula room in the wintertime would hit, 67, 68 degrees for times. They still ate great and grew well. So I don't think there's any real need to supply extra heat. I know some people read that Pamphobeteus species need more heat. They do not. They grow just fine without it, and I've seen no issues. All right, so she's in her new enclosure. We're going to let her settle down a little bit, and I'm probably going to drop a roach or two in for her. Pamphobeteus species Mascara, gorgeous specimen. Obviously, I'll keep people updated. I had a couple people ask how this one was doing, so I wanted to do this rehousing. Plus, it was obviously due for one. So although I forgot to mention in the video some of the other things that were inside the enclosure, we have some green sphagnum moss. I use the Galapagos brand that you can get off Amazon. It used to be much, much cheaper. It's gone up, but it's still worth it. It still looks nice. And then we have some leaf litter and, of course, a water dish, which I had not filled up yet because I usually wait till after I get the spider in case I have to remove it while I'm trying to get the spider out. And she's already started to do a little bit of digging, which is great. I have a funny feeling this one will create a nice little burrow, but these guys are hungry little spiders. I'm sure she'll be sitting right out in the open for me waiting to eat when I'm ready to feed her. Now, that enclosure should keep her for a little bit. Once she hits probably around the 5-inch mark or so, we'll get her into her adult enclosure. I probably could have put her in something much, much bigger for the time being, as these guys are very, very good and active hunters. So even if you put a Pamphobeteus in a larger enclosure and drop some crickets or roaches in, they are going to actively hunt those crickets. They're going to find them. They're going to eat them. So I'm not too much concerned with that. But for the time being, we're going to put her in this one, let her do some burrowing, let her have a couple more molts. And then, of course, we'll revisit her in a couple years or maybe even a year and see how she's doing when we put her into her adult enclosure. So that will do it for this one. As always, if you liked enough to subscribe, very much appreciate. Click the little circle up in there. I'll put the original video down here when I got her, something else up here. If you take the time to comment, I'll take the time to respond. Just know it can take me a couple days. Guys, stay safe. We'll catch you all next time.